Hey butterflies! So today I'm just doing a quick post out of a mere surge of inspiration on the reasons why I think people get addicted to experiences and substances, and out of my own experience, how to break out of that vicious cycle of addiction. So I know this is a really touchy subject, and to be honest, I'm not sure why exactly I decided to post this so early on in the blog. But I thought it would be a great idea to inspire some vulnerability between myself and our readers, and ultimately share some of my wisdom on this challenging subject that I myself have dealt with for over 6 years of my life. Now, I know my story may come across as amateur, and there are far more people out there dealing with way worse and longer term cases than I did. But I think wisdom is acquired through knowledge and experience. And from my own perspective, I'm sharing universal ways of overcoming this hardship, as well as maybe sparking some encouragement to dig deeper within ourselves and find our own source of healing to release this vicious tendency. So I'm going to start off by sharing my story. I know this probably isn't the most professional way of launching a business, but if you really want to get to know the reasons why I started the Butterfly Effect and Elle.co, this is amongst the reasons why. So let's get started. So at the age of 12 years old, I was dealing with a moderate to what my mom called severe case of eating disorders and like a raging developing depression, which later landed me in a lot of trouble. I had a pretty hard time growing healthy relationships throughout my teen years, and while aging through my adolescence, that's when I really began my downwards spiral. The first time I encountered my what grew into 6-year vice, I was about 14 years old. I had just undergone my first real heartbreak, which was losing my childhood best friend, and I was going through a pretty hard time being bullied at school and on the internet. My hormonal depression didn't really help things either. So while I was battling bulimia, bullying, grief, and self-harm, I had this one breakthrough experience with marijuana. Now I get it. Who the fuck gets addicted to weed? But let me tell you that first innocent euphoria, enticed by like a few casual inhales and some shots that went like together with it, later ended up being one of the worst downfalls of my life. You know, weed was super cheap. It was easy to get. It wasn't hard enough of a drug that could really fuck up my life, and it was barely illegal and highly spoken about. So I guess that's where it all started. Little did I know that for the next 6 years, I would barely go a day without being high or drunk and high for at least 8 hours of my day, and then comatose or like fiending anytime after that. So without going into too much detail, I was practically willing to do anything to get my next hit. So yeah, that was that. Now, maybe let's skip about 6 years. Way too many blackouts and bad trips later, I finally started realizing that being high was actually more painful or frightening for me than actually being sober. So it took a lot to get to that point. A lot of nights not knowing where I'd sleep, a lot of bad decisions made, a lot of like soul selling opportunities to get my next fix, a lot of like really bad fights with my family, even worse, a lot of toxic relationships being way too overvalued, and a whole lot of waking night terrors, you know. So why am I telling you this? To be honest, it doesn't take a convulsing heroin fiend to be an addict. From what I've learned, an addiction can be any form of escapism, where you're unconsciously determined to find any substance or experience outside of yourself that will help you release or avoid a form of pain or powerlessness. Yeah, wow, that was deep as fuck. But it's real and it's true. And by defining and now knowing what an addiction really is, which is an urge to avoid a part of ourselves by chasing any external stimuli to relieve us of a pain or experience, I was finally able to find infallible and foolproof ways for myself and for others to help break out of that cycle that keeps and kept us low for so long. So, how do you do it? Okay, so before getting started on this, I have to share this quick but very serious disclaimer. I am not a psychiatric or addiction counseling professional. I am in no ways an expert or a solely liable source for treating addictions. I only speak from my own experience on mindful and philosophical as well as my mildly unprofessional psychological techniques that might help you improve your mentality and your soul connection so that you can ease out of whatever addiction you might be dealing with. This is a vlog, a blog post, not a prescription. So if you're aware you're dealing with any form of addiction, it is in your best interest to seek a medical professional and undergo real help in helping you recover from whatever trauma or deep-rooted issues you're dealing with that might be the source of stimulation for your addictive traits and experiences. Now, with that being said, I do have a few tips that can help you become aware of your current state and a few ideas that can inspire you to seek better help in overcoming these hard times in your life. So, number one, stop running away. The biggest truth behind addiction is your relentless pursuit to avoid an inner pain or inner feeling of powerlessness. Now, whether that pain be mental, which honestly makes up about 90% of modern addiction cases, or physical, which is in the case of a recovering surgery patient, the number one developing factor for an addiction is the ongoing quest to mask or avoid a pain within you or within your body. Now, from my own experience, and as I had previously mentioned at the beginning of this piece, the first step towards my real healing journey was when the pain of being high was actually worse than the pain of being sober or the pain of being with my sober discomfort. So with that being said, stop running away. Now, I don't mean it in that like intervention tone, but as a compassionate and empathetic being who understands what you're going through. I'm telling you this because it's important that you realize you can go the next 10 years or even 100 years, the 100 years of your life running away and avoiding your pain at all costs. But I assure you from research and experience that you will end up losing 100% of your energy than if you were just to gather the courage and the strength to face it rather than run from it from now on. Now, the next step is obviously to face your pain. I couldn't wait another sentence to emphasize this, but really, face your pain. Not once, but for the sake of your own life and your own soul, face your pain from here on out whenever it comes up. Now, I know that this will be different for everyone, and more importantly, this is way, way, way easier said than actually done. Pain expresses itself in many ways and body parts, and will definitely be different from person to person. So whether you experience mild, severe, or even moderate discomfort, the the body parts will be different as well. You know, you might get it in your head, you might get it in your chest, your pain might express itself in your limbs, your back. And depending on the source of your pain, it will express itself in different parts of your anatomy. From my own experience, I dealt with overwhelming and chronic pain in my heart and chest. Sometimes my brain would even go through some deep and sharp pains, but they would intensify at any time I was under the influence. So yeah, it is a hard quest or endeavor to ongoingly accept the pain that goes on in your body and actually feel it despite the what might be severe discomfort that it would cause you. Not to mention, you know, your body is bound to react to any withdrawals during the times that you're challenging your addiction or your cravings and urges. So trust me, I know what I'm asking of you. And again, I do also advocate for the help of a medical professional if you're dealing with a more critical addiction. But yeah, so the third piece, and probably one of the most important, is finding the source of your pain and becoming friends with it. So this will probably sound crazy, but what I mean by that is finding the core experiences of your powerlessness through self-awareness and self-inquiry, and be compassionate with yourself. Bring love to yourself and the body parts that are going through this pain, and even your soul that grieves the pain of whatever traumatic event that you went through. Because yeah, sure, you can withdraw and you can practice sobriety for as long as you want, but as long as the core issue still remains, and you know, some will be deeper than others, you'll never successfully change your life. So this is where the ultimate growth experience and chance to break the cycle occur. It's in building that relationship with yourself and coming to awareness and peace with the past that hurt you so much. Now here's a side note on that. Actually, this is exactly what we're all avoiding. And maybe that's why it's so crucial to finally practice, because I know it'll take time. It took me a whole 2 years and I'm still challenged by it. And depending on the severity of your addiction and how deeply rooted your beliefs, your trauma and mindset are, it may take you your whole life to stand up to and become friends with your quote-unquote demons. But let me encourage you here to find that inner bravery or that courage, because honestly, a life spent running from ourselves is far more exhausting than a life spent mastering and even laughing with ourselves. So the only real way of permanently breaking free of that cycle of addiction is to build a compassionate relationship with ourselves, where we practice self-awareness and like that loving inner dialogue. And when we start to feel that pain and powerlessness come up, or the urges and cravings start to set in again, just become mindfully curious about what's happening inside you, and listen to those fears and what they're asking of you to release. It comes with accepting that pain passes through us in life, and that's just a part of human existence. But the choice to run away from the inevitable is a relentless and draining pursuit, which would definitely be better spent learning to accept and release our pain rather than avoid it. So ultimately, I assure you, this probably won't be easy. It is a lifelong journey learning how to heal our broken pieces. But the fulfillment and the deep joy that you're going to feel knowing that you're laughing with your fears rather than being so scared of them will bring you enough satisfaction to break you from your vicious cycle. And to be honest, this is just on my behalf, but my prayers go out to all of you in building that unconditional relationship with yourself, which I hope is built on a foundation of compassion and courage, awareness and forgiveness. So, cheers to you, and your healing adventure. Um, so, good luck to you. I hope that this short piece was enough to just enlighten you a little bit of the causes, the reasons why people get addicted, and understanding that you're not alone, that most of us go through the same thing in life, and that it's completely normal, but you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be scared of yourself or the parts of yourself. And the minute you decide to love even the most terrifying and terrorizing aspects of your consciousness, things will start turning for the better within that. So take care of yourselves. I love you all, my little butterflies, and I will touch base again with you guys soon. So stay well.